Hello and welcome to Destination Internship. I'm your co-host, Mike Cadis, and I'm here with my brother, Matt. Today, we're excited to be talking to you about networking on LinkedIn. This is a huge thing that a lot of people have questions about, super helpful in terms of getting internships, especially landing highly competitive internships that are probably your dream job. Networking is the key. So we have broke this down into kind of three main talking points, right? Where the networking process is broken down between you and your brand, the recruiter, and then the message. And the message connect is what connects you and your brand with the recruiter. Matt, do you want to talk a little bit more?
Yep. That's a perfect way to break this down. Actually, when we were thinking about this, looked up the actual definition online of what is networking. And I think like the Merriam-Webster definition was an exchange of information between two parties. So what better way to look at this between each party and that exchange of information? So first off, let's start with you and your brand, party number one. You and your brand on LinkedIn is basically your presence on LinkedIn. What's your profile looking like? How does someone think of you? What do they think of you when they see your profile, when they see your profile picture, when they scroll through your experiences? For me, the number one tip I have is making sure the profile is complete. You don't want to have, um, like a halfway done profile. Make sure everything that you can fill in is filled in, because the more full that profile looks, I think the better impression you give off when someone views it.
Yeah, so I think there's two things to look at here, right? Is aesthetics and how it looks and structure, and then also the content involved. So just going off the first part, right? Like part A, the aesthetics and how it looks, the structure. One of the things that I suggest is, yes, you obviously want to have everything fulled out, but also have like organization. Like having essays and paragraphs throughout your LinkedIn can be kind of overwhelming and cumbersome. Maybe I've seen a little bit detailed of descriptions, right? Where you maybe have a paragraph or two. Personally, I like to keep mine short, but I get it. That's preference. In terms of just like experiences, though, for me, I use bullet points. Other people use some type of organization. Although, in my experience, like I think that's the best type of way to have like a structure. Basically, like your online resume, but a lot less formal.
Exactly. I like that. I like what you said there. That first point about trying to keep it concise, because too much, it's kind of like gives off like a kind of feel. So have everything filled out, but keep what you have there concise and succinct. Me, for
Yeah.
example, I have about I just have like three sentences under each experience I got listed, and it gives just a brief snapshot of what I did. And if I get an interview, if I send off my resume, there's more on there, but it gives a brief
Mhm.
snapshot and people can extrapolate whatever they want, but it gives an overall idea of what that experience was.
Yeah, I think Snapchat's good, but also what you had mentioned of if you have a 30-minute phone call, you have an interview, you have a resume, that's where you can really get into the details, right? LinkedIn is just, covering what do you know, what experiences do you have. If they're really interested, they can reach out to you or you can bring it up in like a coffee chat or an interview that you have with them. Moving on. So basically, you and your brand, you want to make sure, in summary, that the information you're putting out there is detailed, it's succinct, well structured, and not overwhelming, pretty aesthetically pleasing when you're scrolling through your profile, and it communicates the right information, right? It communicates what role you're aspiring to achieve or what role you currently have now, and you have supporting details to show, answer the question of why. Moving on, though, to our next field is the recruiter. And so this is basically the way we want to talk about this is who you're reaching out to. It may not exactly be a recruiter. It could be a manager or somebody in a role that you're looking to, eventually get, right, to learn more. But basically the other, like Matt mentioned earlier, it's the exchange of information between two parties. You yourself being one party, and, this is basically the other party.
And like Mike said, it is basically anybody that you're reaching out to, that you're trying to network with. The key here is making sure you're reaching out to the right person at the right time that will actually be able to provide real help in terms of where you want to go. So the first thing in making sure that you're reaching out to the right person is actually knowing where you want to go. So this goes back to a topic we mentioned in one of our other videos, like your brand. You want to understand like what you're trying to get, where you're headed. And once you understand where you're headed, you start to line up, okay, what are the steps in that? So if you realize the company or type of experience you're trying to get at, then you narrow down, okay, who are the type of people I want to be talking to. If I want to go into engineering in the manufacturing space, then I'm definitely going to be looking for recruiters that are recruiting for engineering roles in manufacturing, the manufacturing industry.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, why waste your time with, because if you reach out to other people that aren't in those relevant fields, you're kind of wasting your time and their time because they can't really help you out. And most people on LinkedIn, like, they want to help you. They want to be a resource, like, to assist you in your career development and your growth and achieving your dreams. But if they can't, it, like, what's the point? So really focus on, making sure there's a relevant field that you're interested in, where you want to go. But the other thing, though, that really helps in terms of establishing strong connections is finding some, mutual connection that you have with them, or maybe not an exact person, but have you gone to the same school? Have you, worked at the same company? What types of similarities can you share with people? And that's really how we go about, or how I personally go about searching, because then it offers a great topic of conversation. And also, you can use, if you're trying to learn about their experiences, you can use your shared experience as a baseline, right? It gives you like something to talk about and something in common that connects them with people. So actually, if you're interested, we will be doing a kind of tutorial video on how we go about searching and expanding our network and recruiting on LinkedIn. Stay tuned for that on the website as a side note.
And yeah, just to conclude this point about the person that you're reaching out to, like Mike said, having a good connection in the first place, like whether it be same school or company or even just a mutual connection, really is critical because it just sets things up well. I mean, if there's already a connection, then it gives maybe something to talk about when you take the conversation off LinkedIn. So definitely look for that mutual connection when looking for the person that you are going to reach out to and when you eventually do reach out to them. So I guess I just said it there, when you eventually do reach out to them. That last point we had, Mike, was actually reaching out, that message that you send. So
Yep.
what kind of
Super
tips do you have?
critical. Yeah, I'd say the first part of the message is what I've seen as most effective messages. Really, it includes a call to action, right? You're kind of introducing yourself. Hi, my name is, so and so, and I study here, or, basically, and also communicating why you're reaching out, right? I'm reaching out, whether it's to learn more about your industry and your career, or whether it's a recruiting purpose of, I'm really interested in working at your company. I was wondering if you could pass my resume along. But that why goes back to the call to action, right? It's like, you're expanding your network, and you want to include them in it because of what? Why do you want that? And that helps them help you. I mentioned it before. A lot of people on LinkedIn are really open to providing assistance, but it could be a little bit difficult sometimes if they're lacking information or if it's in the wrong field. So if you say why, like, hey, like, for example, hi, my name's Mike Cadis, and I'm reaching out because I'm looking for, a position as a financial analyst at your company, right? They can either say, hey, I'm sorry, I don't work with financial analyst recruiting anymore, but, reach out to so-and-so. I've had that happen to me before, and it was a great exchange, and it ended up going into another great exchange. But basically, the call to action provides the information. It helps them help you, which is huge in networking.
One thing I notice here, Mike, is this, honestly, and like almost everything we talk to is this, going back to your brand. It always starts at your brand and where you want to go, because once you
Mhm.
realize where you want to go, everything starts to sort of fall in
Yeah,
place.
it builds on
That
each other,
mhm.
and it gives you a direction, right?
And
That's huge.
that call to action that you said, your call to action, you really get an idea of what that should be once you realize where you want to go and the steps that you have to take to get there. For example, if I'm headed down a path thinking I want to go into some industry or do some type of role, but I'm thinking maybe this isn't for me, then I understand my call to action to somebody who's an employee somewhere, do in some certain function or role. That call to action might just be a conversation to learn more. I'm going to present myself as a curious student who actually wants to learn because I don't know what I want to do. I'm kind of have these conflicting thoughts of where I want to go.
Yep.
So that would be the call to action. If I know exactly where I want to go, or I know exactly the company or type of role, and I'm reaching out to a manager at a company that's might be looking to fill a role, my call to action is going to be, can you take a look at my resume? Can you forward it to a hiring manager? Can
Hmm.
you Do something like that. And
And
another point is being direct. If you are messaging a recruiter, you don't want to throw in this fluff about, can we have a 30-minute conversation to talk about the company? Well, skip that. Tell the recruiter, here's my resume. Can you take a look at it? What do you think?
yeah, I think transparency is a big thing, right? You know currently like why you're reaching out to people and why you're networking. Be honest about it, right? Because I think that's the best way. It's how you drive the most. It's like that's how you create an impactful networking experience and create an impactful and strong relationship. Is that honesty, transparency, forthcomingness, and it ultimately helps all of the parties involved, and it can lead to really great networking experiences and really powerful connections.
And quickly, just before we move on to the next point, there is on our website a sample message that we've both used to send to recruiters on LinkedIn that actually has been successful and actually has gotten replies. So if you're interested, definitely go to our website. There is a tab that's related to networking. And on that tab, you'll be able to see a sample message that we send to recruiters.
The
And
last point, though, I'd really like to focus on, Matt, if we can here,
yep,
is politeness and respect,
I was going to
because
say the same thing.
we are mentioning a lot of call to action, but there is a balance, right, between understanding they have their own personal lives. They may be super swamped and busy. They may not be able to help you right away or at all. Just have that understanding and respect that that they're individuals as well.
Exactly. That's just to reinforce that. Even like when we go back to finding out the person you want to reach to, if you're trying to go into supply chain, don't be messaging people that work in engineering or marketing. If you're trying to go into engineering, don't be messaging people that are in marketing. Be respectful of that. Also, be respectful that people might not be using LinkedIn to fill a position within their company. If I'm a
Mhm.
manager, I might be using LinkedIn to get my next job at a different company. So I might not necessarily appreciate some like random messages from people trying to get a job on my team if I'm a manager trying to use LinkedIn to get a job at a new company. So definitely be respectful of that. Even recruiters, not all recruiters use LinkedIn to try to fill positions. So one key here, I would say, is if you're going to message a recruiter, see what their activity is on LinkedIn. See if they've been sharing recent posts or
Yeah, I
recent
think
job
that's good.
openings. Because if you see a lot of managers do that. Well, managers and recruiters and employees will share job openings at their company. And if they're actively doing that on LinkedIn, that's kind of a cue
Yeah,
that
they're
they don't
likely to help
mind.
you out. They're
Exactly.
likely to help you out.
But
And
if
so I
somebody,
think
yeah,
if you can kind of understand, if somebody's active and involved and, related to the recruiting process and actively helps people, they're probably a good person to reach out to. But we're not saying like, think about it too much before reaching
yeah,
out, but it's like you don't want to like constantly be messaging people or like overwhelming them if they don't respond, things like that. It's just having that nice balance of respect, timeliness, and appreciation that
and
they're individuals as well.
you don't want to all of a sudden message everybody in the exact same department with the same message. And the next thing
Yeah.
you know, the next day at work, they're all going to be like, "Did you get a message from so and so?" And they all have got, all 10 people on the same team got the same message from the same person.
I feel like there's two ways to look at that. It's either you respect the hustle or like it could go either very well, very good, or very bad at that situation. So
Yeah.
maybe like try and vary it up. But that's the thing, right? The message should be personal, authentic. Why are you reaching
Yep.
out to that person specifically? And if it's authentic, you could probably avoid those situations, right?
Exactly. You're
But
not going
to
to, if it's
summarize it
authentic,
though,
you're not going to be messaging everybody on the same team.
yeah. To summarize our networking ideas and really aspects, right? We want to have this be focused on yourself in terms of, understanding your brand, understanding where you want to go, where do you want to head in the future, and why you're building your network. Understanding the recruiter or basically the other party, right? The recruiter manager, making sure that they're working in a relevant field, that you're not going to waste your time, that you're not wasting your time reaching out to them, and you won't waste their time in terms of building that relationship. And then, trying to see if there's some, good connections between you, whether it's this, you guys attended the same school, you studied the same industry, or you're working at the same company. Finally, the message here, have making sure you have a call to action, you're being forthcoming with why you're reaching out, and always having the right level of respect and politeness will go miles for you in terms of the networking process. So thanks so much. We're really happy to have this discussion with you guys about networking. Let us know if there's any other content that you'd like to cover that maybe we've missed. We'd be happy to do another video, another podcast to even talk more in detail about one of these sub areas that we talked about today. But again, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to seeing you next time.